Hello manga fans, here's Earl Grey. Today I have 4 mangas for you, each of them a standalone book or graphic novel, what have you, which seems not so typical because one main concern of Western comic readers towards manga is that they tend to be serialized forever and take lots of your precious shelf space. I mean, European albums do that as well, but you know what I mean. So I picked 4 books for today's video, which, are concluded in just one book. Starting with a disappointment, Downfall by Inio Asano is an autobiography, sort of a mangaka, which bears lots of resemblance with Inio Asano. So I think of this one here as some kind of autobiography, which makes me a bit wonder if he's really that, piece of trash, I don't know, that lame dude. I mean, there's lots of self-humiliation going on here, but to be honest with you, I really can't remember actually the story, despite of it's a long series of boring events in the life of this mangaka. He cheats on his wife, she cheats on the prostitutes, he goes to the prostitutes, he has some, I don't know, it's just a diary of a life that nobody really could be interested in, or I couldn't care less about. Sounds a bit harsh, but that's just my memory of this book here. It's a bit sad, since I really loved Goodnight Punpun, even though that series, Goodnight Punpun, had pretty lots of filler issues, in my opinion. So that could have been wrapped up easily, in my opinion, after just the half amount of pages. The other 3 books here are highly recommended. They are very good, in my opinion, for different reasons, but maybe one of the theme that goes on through all 3 books here is that they don't bear, at least not too much, the typical manga house style, the stuff that we Western comic fans usually complain about or whine about, the over-exaggerated emotions, the big eyes, and same such. The art within this book here reminds me much more of some of my favorite cartoonists of all time, Jose Munoz. This is done by Taiyo Matsumoto. It's called Tekkonkinkreet. This is a nice hardcover edition, this German edition, but there is an English one as well. And the art is very fluid. The dynamics, the fighting scenes here are spot on. And I mean, you're used to perfect fighting scenes, I guess, when you read mangas. But here it's done in this very special style. And I really like the art immensely. It tells us the story about these 2 boys here, Kuro and Jiro. They fight Yakuza mobsters in some sort of sci-fi town or city. It's not really too much of sci-fi here within the story. And there are some guys from the police, and you have almost the whole cast, at least as far as I've read it. Here you see the ribbon. Almost half of the book I have read, and so far it was a fantastic read, especially the characteristics of these 2 children surviving without parents in the city, in an old car, or in a car as their kind of home, and having to rely on each other. He's the more vicious guy, he's the more naive guy, and they are a very interesting pair, and the policemen are sort of their friends, sort of not, because they're maybe you can underage vigilantes, which would describe their role, at least so far as I've read it. And yeah, they're called the cats, and so the cats are a theme throughout this book. And here we have these Yakuza mobsters, pretty on point, characterized by the story here. It's just a joy to read from start to half of the book, and I really I'm curious how where this story will take me, but I wanted to do this video, so I couldn't wait until I have finished it. But if you're curious, maybe join our Sunday chat, in which I will this Sunday in which I will talk about Tekkonkinkreet for sure. One manga that I've read some weeks or even months ago is by Jiro Taniguchi, The Walking Man. This is the German edition, Der spazierende Mann, published by the Carlsen Verlag, but you can get this in English, at least in English as well, and in many other languages, I guess, as well. Yeah, this is just a fantastic book in which nothing really happens, nothing spectacular, or maybe it is spectacular that the not so spectacular stuff is spectacular as well, if you get what I'm saying here. So we follow this man who likes to walk and likes to observe the world, and here he's climbing a tree, and maybe the most famous panel of the whole book here, and I mean, this is really a beautiful one, how he is inside the tree, which is, of course, the cover illustration as well. Or, yeah, just a collection of his walks through the surroundings of his village and the very, very little adventures he has there. But it plays with his vision, and there's some place in the story in which he breaks his glasses. So now we see the world through broken glasses, or blurry without when he looks without glasses, and so on. It's a nice, unspectacular read, really charming, and just a pleasure. Well, nice and charming are not the adjectives that usually come to my mind when I think of Junji Ito and his novels, which are actually all recommended, all but one, and that has to be Rimina, the last. That was published pretty recent. It is actually an older manga, and I didn't enjoy that at all. But No Longer Human here is fantastic. And maybe the reason for it is that it is an adaptation of an original novel by Osamu Dazai, which seems to be almost a key to the work of Junji Ito. So it's pretty hard to talk about this book and not to be spoiled. And I wouldn't recommend to read the biographical text here about Osamu Dazai before you have read the book, but maybe that's just me. So, and it's a beautifully designed book, by the way, with this hole here and the monster painting here peeking through. That's a nice touch. So, yeah. As I said, it's hard to talk about this book here without spoiling anything. This is obviously a suicide suicide situation in the beginning. You will see this slightly differently after reading the whole tome, since this is a sort of frame narration which goes on here. But yeah, as I said you will see this a bit in a different light. And even though this looks gross and horror-ly, and there is a lot of horror stuff in this book, but it's not the kind of body horror, for the most part, that Junji Ito is famous or infamous now. This has really a psychological impact, at least for me, and it's about this Yozo boy here who's brought up in a family that is ruled by the rigid hands of this politician here. But our boy grew up really with fear of other humans. He couldn't get a handle on understanding his fellow human beings. He saw how they betrayed and deceived each other and couldn't understand it. And the only exit for him was to develop this shtick of being of playing the clown and the inept one, even though he is super intelligent and but he is somehow, has some autistic characteristics, and exited in this this masquerade, and this masquerade of being the clown allowed him to carry on through the hardships of his life. Not really having experienced the love of his father, just in situations like this when he really played the fool one time more. However, and this is something new for me, how the horror in the rest of the book here that slowly develops and builds really highly momentum here in this book, how this is developed out of this youth of this character here, out of a reality in a way. So you can really relate, you can see how this unimaginable horror on the later pages, how it has really a foundation in reality in the life of this main guy here. I mean, the whole life of our Yozo Oba guy here is like a slow car crash, or maybe rather even more to stay in the car metaphor, driving your car without the hands on the wheel, and from one car crash to another. And here sometimes his drawings are really on-point, poignant beauty to them, I think. So, yeah, like a car drive without the hands on the steering wheel, and like it is usually with car drivers that aren't in control of their momentum. They are the ones that are hurt the least, and all other people, and especially all the women in the life of Yozo Oba, they are that are hurt and killed and tortured. And it is somehow in the middle of the book here when I really thought, okay, Junji, I got your point. Maybe we can wrap it up, because it's really a chore to get through all this stuff here, and maybe he could have shortened it. But in the end of the book, I really understood why he did so, and it is really a unit. It is not stretching out a thin story. It is really a fantastic read, an emotional read with some punch to it. Maybe you will need more than just 1, 2, or 3 sittings. So I would recommend to divide the reading of this book, because it's really quite intense, and it is horrific. Could that be horrific in a good sense? Yeah, anyhow. So, yeah, it is a fantastic book, and I'm sure I will have to tell you more about Tekkonkinkreet as well when I finished that book. So, for now, it's all of the stuff that I could tell you. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.